Hey everybody, I'm Pastor Bill from Open Door Baptist Church in Morehead City, and thanks for coming back for another word of encouragement. These are weekday video series that we're putting out to give us all some direction and focus to get our eyes and ears back onto God's stable and foundational words of encouragement in the Bible, and to help us to, for a moment, see His reality, true eternal reality, as opposed to the messaging of despair and discouragement from the world around us. And today, picking up in our pattern of the E100 reading plan, we are going to now take a look at Exodus chapter 2. In Exodus chapter 2, Pharaoh has declared that every Hebrew boy should be left to exposure or thrown into the Nile to be killed. He has declared and codified, if you will, in the law, Pharaoh's law, an infanticide which is absolutely opposed to God's character and word. And so in this point in Exodus chapter 2, I'll begin reading in verse 5. Pharaoh's daughter went down to bathe at the Nile while her servant girls walked around the riverbank. And seeing the basket among the reeds, she sent her slave girl to get it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, a little boy crying. And she felt sorry for him. And she said, "This is one of the Hebrew boys." Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Should I go and call a woman from the Hebrews to nurse the boy from you?" "Go," Pharaoh's daughter told her. So the little girl went and called the boy's mother. And then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay your wages." So the woman took the boy and nursed him. And when the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses, because, she said, "I drew him," that's what Moses means, to draw, "I drew him out of the water." Well, this is probably a familiar story to some of us who have been around the Bible for a while. But what I want to point out, a gem of encouragement here in this chapter, is that these are very, very dark times in the history of the Hebrews, of the Jewish people. They are being oppressed by the state, by the leaders of the land, the very highest king in all the land, really the most powerful man on the earth at the time, Pharaoh. He is oppressing the Jewish people, and so much so that he has declared an infanticide backed up by the entire state and its power. And yet, God has put in place a mother who fears God more than Pharaoh. He has put in place midwives who fear God more than Pharaoh, and they are about doing the right thing that matches God's character and word by saving infants instead of killing them. And we find that God is putting aside, he's sanctifying this little boy who becomes Moses for his own purposes, to be the leader of his people, a man that the Jewish people today look back on and they elevate him to the point of almost being Messiah. He is a savior to them. He is the leader of the entire nation, really the first leader of the complex nation of Israel here in Egypt, in a basket on the river Nile. And we see God's hand on him, that his sister would be there watching, and that she would go and get his own mother, his biological mother. But really, another point that I want to make here, we just passed Sanctity of Life Sunday, but here we find God's purpose of adoption working in the life of Moses. Moses is adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, and he is brought up, trained, educated, given the finest that life could afford during those days. And all of this is going to mold his character and his makeup to be the man who will lead Israel out of slavery. Well, I hope that this is encouraging to you today. I hope that this encourages you to take another look at adoption and those who are adopted and how they're used by God. And I hope that you'll return tomorrow for another word of encouragement.